All right, so welcome back to the Godfrey Universe podcast. We took a week off because we were out of town in Florence, South Carolina for a comic book signing of our issue 0 and promotion. We got a lot of good signups for our mailing list, which if you haven't done that yet, you should because you get tons of free stuff. And you should check out our website, godfreyuniverse.com, because there's awesome stuff on there. What is on
And
there?
also, like a
Go ahead.
huge thank you to Dale posting
At
at
Galactic
Galactus for letting
Comics.
us come. And big thank you to everybody that stopped by, showed some support, hung out with us. It was a great day. We enjoyed meeting everybody and just getting to hang out. It was a good time.
Other than the birth of my daughter, it was probably the best day I've had in like a decade.
It was a good day,
Yeah,
man. It
like
was
to
a
be
good day.
honest, like just and yeah, huge shout out to Galactic Comics in Florence, South Carolina, and to Swamp Fox Jiu Jitsu
What's
right
that?
right beside
What's
them,
that?
owned by Spencer Selman, who we've had on here. He came by and really just ripped into Josh and brought him down a peg.
That's what he always does. And then he asked me to do something for him.
Yeah, knowing you'll do it, he was negging you.
Gaslighting me.
It worked.
It does. Because I'm a chump. Hey, I'm a
We love
chump.
that
Hey. Yeah, he's a good guy.
If you're near that area, Florence, South Carolina, you should go by Galactic. That whole strip is part of like a strip mall, but kind of separated from each other. But they're like two strip malls beside each other. So there's that, Swamp Fox Jiu Jitsu, Go Get Choked Out by Spencer, and then right beside them there's was it Heroes Hideout,
Heroes
which is
Hideout.
like a card shop that also has like an awesome Asian restaurant in it. And what's the other place? Was it not the
New
gaming
Game
place?
Plus.
New
Yeah,
Game
New Game
Plus.
Plus is like a bunch of like classic video games and stuff. It's like nerd mecca
Yeah,
in South Carolina.
it's
It's a
really
cool
it's
place,
really cleaned
man.
up that whole part of that street because it used to be really violent. And there's a Krispy Kreme there, so you know that you're gonna pick up some hot ones while you're there.
Exactly.
But
And
anyway,
we're recording on Mother's Day, so like we have to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms.
yeah.
Mothers. So who is the best mother in sci-fi, fantasy, comics history? Like who is the best like genre fiction mother in your opinion?
Sarah Connor.
All right. So she might be the coolest mom, but she's
Yeah.
not a good mom. She's very tough, very mean. She's not a very
The
nurturing
best
mom.
mom? Oh. I might have to think about
Who
that.
who's the best mother
Maybe the chick
and
from
why is it mom?
the mom from Gremlins for like single handedly taking down the entire brood by herself.
Man, she did do some work. She did some work. I'm partial to Ma Kent. I
Ma
think
Kent,
she's a good
yeah.
mom.
Yeah, we're about to
She's
jump
just
into
like
that,
the
aren't we?
yeah, we're about yeah. As a segue,
Yeah.
I also thought Aunt May stepped up to be a good mom, even though she wasn't a mom.
Okay. Yeah, the original Aunt May, not hot Aunt May.
Yeah, not hot Aunt May.
Yeah.
Classic gray
Yeah, Aunt May
haired
was great.
old biddy.
Um this was completely unplanned, but that's fine. What's the best? There's a lot of good moms. That's what's good. There's not a lot of good dads.
Very few, very few.
The best mom. I'm drawing a blank, man. It's certainly not the mom from Pokemon that's like, "Oh, you're 10, get out."
It's just an interesting thing because it's one of those aspects where like when you look at a character and all these characters and all these stories that we love so much, you have a lot of like very toxic fathers,
Yeah, or
uh,
non-existent.
or non-existent fathers, or dead fathers, which are also non-existent. But like when you think about it, it's hard to nail down a good mom in
Unless you're on
in
Tinder.
our genre. Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Well, not a good mom, but
Sheesh.
I mean, I guess Mary, the mother of Jesus. If we have to go there, they built like whole temples to her. I don't know. I mean, the mom in Ronin 2 is pretty cool.
I still haven't read that. I'm looking forward to reading that
I
though.
haven't finished it. She might turn out to be awful. But uh anyway, so well, we can come back to that. That was a good question. Let's get into this. I'll pull it up real quick. It's what kind of sparked this whole thing. We're gonna jump into Zack Snyder's Superman. You know, since we're done with divisive topics.
And we're saying Zack Snyder's Superman because it's not just one movie. It's his franchise is Superman. We
Yeah.
know that the name of the movie is Man of Steel. But no, we're talking about the character, his version of the character, and all those different
Well, let's.
entries.
I mean, let me read this. It's a tweet. I'm not gonna say who it is because apparently that's bad form to publicly discuss other people's public ideas for some
I feel
reason.
like if you put something out there, you should be willing to take it, take the
Yeah, like,
heat.
of course I wouldn't like want anybody to harass anybody, but if you put a public idea out, I mean, I expect my stupid ideas to get torn to shreds. Like,
Exactly.
so, all right.
That's why you're married.
Yeah, right. Okay, so the Twitter account's called Superman on Film. And he posted, or she, or they, who cares, whatever. It says my issue with this. He posted a picture of the logging truck from Man of Steel, where Superman had broken it to pieces, and he says my issue with this moment for Man of Steel has always been that it broke the reality of the movie up to that point. Really, the movie that opens on Krypton.
with Russell Crowe on a dragonfly alien.
Until then, it had all felt very grounded. Clark was a silent guardian who'd swept in from the shadows and then disappeared. Well, first of all, like that phrase "silent guardian" came from The Dark Knight.
I was thinking the same thing.
This was very loud. It pulled me out. I'm not meaning to make fun of this person for like what they're saying. Like I'm not trying to be that petty. This is putting on a character. I'm attacking his ideas. What I'm saying. I'm not gonna make fun of somebody for how they said something. You know. Josh is like, I would. I can see your face.
Literally was thinking, yeah, I will.
He says, I'm not saying he shouldn't have destroyed the truck to get revenge on the abusive prick in the bar. No, destroy the truck. But do it by dropping a tree and a telephone pole on it. The characters will think it's a freak accident. The audience will chuckle knowing it was Clark, which that's what everybody did. Doing it this way would just lead to a huge mystery, I guess the way it was done, of what the hell could have possibly done that to the truck. It's so over the top, there'd be so many questions, and it would all point a finger at Clark. So is he careful or not? It just didn't sit right with me. Lois refers to him as an enigma and someone who does everything they can to cover their tracks. Does doing this match that information from the script? If he destroyed the truck in a more covert way, wouldn't that be more like the person the script was describing? It honestly just gave me a sense that anywhere where Snyder could have fun using his own visual flair, he took full advantage even if it didn't really match the script. Well, let's get to this.
Well, before we unpack that, if you've never seen the movie Man of Steel, you're a loser and you should fix it. But no, it's a great, interesting, but also controversial take on Superman, apparently. But the scene that we're referring to here, is before Clark Kent ever puts on the suit and the cape. He's still struggling with his identity, trying to figure out what it means to be human, and you're really not human. So, and he was raised by a father that, and we'll get into this more later, but his father, played by Costner in the movie, tries to tell him, look, you need to keep this stuff a secret. If anybody knew, the world wouldn't know how to respond to you. And in the scene that we're discussing, he's at a bar. There's an absolute jerk that spills
generic redneck alpha male white guy, Hollywood number 4.
Exactly. And he's starting stuff with Clark. He spills drinks on him or throws drinks in his face, whatever. and you can tell that Clark is really mad.
Yeah.
And then like later on, after Clark leaves, the dude finishes up at the bar. He steps outside, and his big rig 18-wheeler is like
Yes.
impaled on
It,
like it's like destroyed and impaled on like
an
power
impossible
cord stuff.
setup. But if
Yeah,
you watch the movie, it looks as if that guy's leaving several hours later.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely not immediately like right after
Yeah.
that that it happens.
Which
But
is
yeah,
point
that's sort
number
of the
it's point number one that it's like it doesn't immediately point to Clark.
right.
But
And
yeah,
anybody that's a normal human being, if they walked out the bar and saw their truck in that situation, is not going to jump to the conclusion. I wonder if that normal human being that I was a jerk to did this.
yeah. He did try to push Clark and couldn't. But
Yeah,
that's still not enough. I mean, if you tried to push Andre the Giant, you couldn't.
but Andre couldn't do that with your truck either.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, so first of all, he's trying to this person. I'm gonna say he. I don't know what this person is. I don't care. Um, he's trying to appeal to like consistency in the script without realizing that the consistency is there. He's trying to isolate it. He's actually what he's doing is taking it out of context. Because
Mm-hmm.
he's like Lois. The whole thing is that Lois describes this person that's trying to hide but is failing, and that's the whole
Mm-hmm.
point. When he saved Lois, he was failing to hide. That's one example. Another example is he can't hold down a job. He jumps off of the rig he's working on to go save that oil rig, or the boat,
Yep.
the fishing boat. And then this happens, and the whole point of all of this is to show the hiding doesn't work for Clark
Mm-hmm.
until he has become. We'll go more into this, but until he becomes fully integrated as Superman, puts on the cape and flies, he can't even fully be Clark Kent. That's the conflict.
Yeah, the choice of hiding in the first place, the only way he could be successful at hiding is to let people die or to let people get hurt, to allow things to happen that he could stop. And that just doesn't sit well with him because he is a good, morally correct person.
Yeah.
He's not going to sit by and know that I could have saved these people and just let it happen.
Well, and here's the pushback because people are gonna be like, see, that's why Snyder was wrong by they always say he introduced an objectivist Superman because I think Snyder said one time he read Atlas Shrugged or something. So they try to be like, oh, he's an Ayn Rand objectivist. Here's what you just said. That's also the greater conflict is Clark wants to react, and his
Mm-hmm.
father, which we'll get into that, is trying to teach him you don't just react, and you can't be an objectivist where you just sit back and do nothing. You have to integrate that into yourself and understand the wisdom of when to act. And more
Mm-hmm.
importantly, and this is another thing to get into, and this is a whole other philosophy. He wants Clark to live proactively, not
Mm-hmm.
reactively. And the way we know that is because even Jor-El, he was like, you're the standard. You'll set the way. You will teach them.
Mm-hmm.
And until his real father, or like what gets out called his first father instead of his second father, helps him understand what his second father basically was trying to show him, because it's often presented that
Mm-hmm.
they're showing two different ideas, and they're not. They're trying to teach him the same idea of you're not a
Mm-hmm.
good person unless you choose to be and you control
Mm-hmm.
yourself. That's
Mm-hmm.
the only way you'll get to be it. Anyway.
Right. And and you and I were discussing this earlier. I think that whoever made that post, I don't think that they understood the the message of the scene.
Yeah.
The message of that scene is mercy,
Yeah.
because this is a god man,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of better terms. This is a man with incredible power that could easily destroy this little prick that's pushing on his chest and spilling drinks on him and
And
stuff.
attacking women. Yeah.
Yeah, being an absolute turd, he could kill this guy easily. It could easily have been that man impaled up there, not his truck.
Mm-hmm.
And to pull that apart, it's that idea of like we got a godlike being who also has wrath, and that wrath is over an unrighteous thing, over an injustice. That wrath is justified wrath,
Yeah.
and it has to have an outlet somewhere. It's mercy that outlet gets that wrath gets poured out on a truck instead of on the person who really deserves it.
And that's the thing is he deflects, and then he
Yeah.
also deflects. He deflects the guy's attention from the girl to him. Then he
Mm-hmm.
takes it. Then he exacts wrath on something else. Now, of course, the ultimate Superman is to let that wrath go.
Yeah.
Like, okay, don't even destroy the truck. This is one step because, like, and I mean, I don't think people watch the movie because he says he's a kid. And he goes, "I wanted to hurt them, Dad," and
Yeah.
and he's like, "Well, like, what would that have done? You can." And then he still hasn't quite learned that. That's what it's
Yeah.
showing you is like, okay, and that's the problem. That's what he's saying. It's like it's not that his dad is wrong, it's that his dad is right, and he's not living up to it yet. And he doesn't
Right.
until he runs into Jor-El and he gets the whole history and he completes himself in a sense, and he puts on the cape and it's like, oh, he can fly now. He understands I am above this. I have to
Mm-hmm.
be because I am. He finally
And then,
understands it.
and in spite of all the at least visual and story related allusions or homages to him as a Jesus Christ figure, which is a lot of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, what else can you compare? He grew up on Earth. I'm gonna be honest. Like
yes,
that's the most. You want to talk about grounded reality? Human Superman. He grew up in Kansas. Who else is he supposed to be compared to?
right.
Sorry, but like
But
or
no,
seek
you're fine. No,
or seek
you're
like
correct.
to imprint his personality with. Like who is like him? You
Yeah,
know
who can he identify with?
exactly. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, even when we get into Batman v Superman, by that point in the story, he still hasn't fully like conquered this because, like, even though he seemed so in control for quite a while,
He crumbles.
he still crumbles under his emotions
Yeah.
in
The
that
second
movie.
his mother is threatened, he crumbles.
Right.
Which here's let's get into this. Pa Kent knew that men like Lex Luthor existed.
Yep.
Men that could still wield power over the greatest, most powerful being on the planet. Because if that being could not control himself.
Well, and that's the thing. If you do not, that's the ultimate message. Is if you do not have control of yourself, you leave yourself open to be controlled by someone or something else,
Mm-hmm. And
and that's just true of life.
well, and the thing is, like, the people complain about Pa Kent letting himself die, and or holding up his hand, and he's teaching his son a lot of things there, an
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable amount of things, and one of them is you can't save everybody. Some people don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
saved. It's not for you to save everybody. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's a harsh lesson for the most powerful man on the planet. Another one is you have to be willing for me and your mother and everyone you know to die, and you can and not compromise you
Yeah.
because you have the power to destroy everything and everyone in your rage or in your
Well,
neglect.
well, and
Well, we see
I
that, like you
think
said in
that
Batman v Superman. That's what we see.
yeah, and I think that was what was, and we discussed this as well. I think that's where Zack was clearly building to when you watch the Snyder cut. Yeah, that whole nightmare that he introduced in Batman v Superman, ultimately that future where Darkseid is in control and all this, it all comes down to the death of Lois Lane being what pushes Superman over the edge and makes him a
Mm-hmm.
basically a pawn of
Dark side.
Darkseid. And that's the thing. And I've been married. November will be 15 years. That Ashley and I have been married. One of the conversations she and I had like early in our marriage was that idea of like, yes, I love you. I'm here for you. I want to take care of you. I want to support you. All those things, and I'm glad you love me too. I cannot be your whole life,
Yeah.
and you can't be mine. Like I can't be your God. I can't. Like I'm here to help you. I'm here to do life with you. But you, I people have this tendency with their relationships, and it can be a lot of different kinds of relationships. It doesn't have to be a marriage, but like they have this tendency to put so much weight on a person in their life, even and there's nothing wrong with loving someone, but you got to be able to live without that person too. You lived
Mm-hmm.
without them before. You have to be able to be prepared to live without them again.
Well, that's what he
And
says to
that's a
Batman.
hard lesson.
In the Nightmare, he
Yeah.
puts his hand on his chest and goes, She was everything to me. She was the world to me, and you let her
And that
die."
was the problem.
Yep.
That was the problem. She shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
No
That
one should be. No
people
one should be the world to
people
you.
don't seem to understand Snyder's Superman. He is unbelievably flawed, and that's the whole thing, because that's what Superman has always been, in in some sense. It wasn't a deconstruction of Superman. He just offered you an origin that you did not see before.
Hmm.
I don't see how he was
Well,
ever deconstructed whenever he just built him up from the start.
right. And he didn't break any of the canon that's already established. In fact, with
Zod's
Krypton and
been
all that,
killed multiple times by
he
Superman's
did.
hand.
Yeah, he did a great job actually with using established canon in that series of movies. But like the thing is, you look at some people now that they'll say, well, you love somebody and that person's your whole world. Oh, that's romantic. What a romantic idea. That is not a romantic idea. There's nothing
No.
romantic about it. It's selfish.
Yeah.
That means I would burn the entire world because I lost the person that mattered to me.
Yeah.
That's selfishness.
Yeah.
That's not a hero.
Yeah.
That's not romantic. That's unstable.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing he's trying to teach his son. You have the
Yeah.
power. And plus, the whole Pa Kent is so right, as we see it from Dark, because he knew guys like Darkseid and Lex Luthor existed. Like, you have the power to control the fate of this world, and if you don't accept, that you can't control everything, if you can't accept loss, if you can't accept that you don't get to have the happiness that everybody else has.
Yeah, you're giving leverage to an enemy.
Exactly. He taught him, with great power comes great responsibility, without saying
Yeah,
it.
without saying it.
Yeah.
Without saying the line, yeah.
And he taught him, you have the greatest power. So you have the great.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I realized, man. When I was thinking about this podcast, and it's so good. Snyder's heroes have to be, in a way, have to become gods because they're fighting gods. They have to become paragons.
Yeah, he elevates those stories to that almost genuinely epic level.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes mythology.
Well, it has to. The thing is, like, you are fighting beings that, I think, because if you kill, because I don't know what they would have done with it, because in the comics, isn't it? It's like if a new god dies, the entire universe resets. Like, you can't really kill Darkseid. If you do, that's was Crisis on Infinite Earth, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Excuse me, Infinite Earths. Welcome to Earths.
Infinite Earths.
There's an infinite Will Smith going, welcome to Earths. But no, I mean, I don't know how it would have ended, because we didn't get it. We might, but I don't think, if he'd have followed comic book canon, I don't think you can kill Darkseid without destroying and recreating the entire universe. You can beat him into submission.
Right.
But yeah, and here's the thing, man. I'm not ripping Superman on film. This person, I don't want to be that petty, but I think we just have a lot of people who don't know Superman. Even when they read comics, they don't know what a man is, and then they don't know how to extrapolate that to a Superman. And that is one that carries the greatest weight possible of responsibility. It's more than just, because we see so much of this stuff. It's like, I want a Superman that rescues cats from the trees and hugs people. That's great, but that's easy. And you know why that's easy? Because that Superman isn't carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders all the time and learning to do that. Snyder he didn't give you a deconstruction, he gave you a Superman learning that. And learning it in a world filled with people like us and with Twitter, which was what BVS was all about. The entire thing of BVS was governmental force and philosophical ideas trying to constrain the Ubermensch who actually exists, and not knowing how to, because all of our history of it is that this guy's going to take over the world. And they're telling him that. The people that are trying to help him, the senators, are all telling him that you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And the smartest thing, which cost her life, that senator did was when she denied the weapon by Lex Luthor. Like, she at least had the wherewithal to be like, I'm not deciding on this, but he doesn't deserve to die yet. Anyway.
Well, and it's interesting too, because like you get these visions of, or these I guess projections of Russell Crowe as his father in the first movie. You got Costner that offer a lot of guidance to him as fathers, and then the mother figure, Martha, she has a kind of a different message for him.
Well, she has a kind of a mother message for him. Not to interrupt you. Yeah,
she cares more about him, as in her mind, that's her son, that's my baby, and you don't owe them anything.
Yeah.
And the reality is, to be fair, he doesn't. She's not wrong.
Yeah.
She appreciates who he is. She raised him to care. But, there is that part of her, that reminds him, like, what you do needs to be your choice.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't mean that. But wait, I mean, that's what a mother would say.
Of course.
If she wants her son. And, I mean, if you want to extrapolate on that, I mean, we really don't think... You can't guess, especially with a historical figure or a myth, if you have to say that. But, I mean, Mary didn't want to see her son crucified.
Of course not.
And that's the whole thing. And I think that's what Snyder was going with, that parallel again, is like, what would you do if your son can save the world at the cost of his own life?
Exactly.
You say, I don't care.
Tell him, I don't care about the world. That's my baby.
Well, and
that's the selfish answer. I don't care about the world.
Well, I think, again, not to do this, but I think our society doesn't understand men, and particularly doesn't understand fathers, and Pa Kent and Jor-El being like, no, you have to do this, and you need to understand that you are going to suffer greatly because you deserve to, because you have the strength of it. It's not right, but it is right.
Yeah.
Because you're the only thing that can be right.
Right.
And to wield this power means you suffer greatly. You don't get to have this and not suffer with it. And I think that's the great message that was lost in on a lot of people, is Martha repeating the same mistakes that Clark is, and that's where the role of the father kind of comes in. Like, no, you need to go embrace and face the world. Yeah.
And I can't coddle you. I can't pat you on the back and make you feel better about it.
Even if that means saving me.
Yeah.
And part of that, I mean, and again, but it's almost a lost art and a lost idea. His father's almost saying, like, Pa Kent's almost saying, like, you don't get to save your father. I protect you.
Yeah.
I save you. And this is how I do it. And the ultimate way is your strength ultimately doesn't make you stronger than me as your father.
Exactly.
That's an unbelievably humbling and powerful statement.
It is. It is. And to do that and to tell him all that and say, the other unspoken in that look that he gives him is like, yeah, you don't get to save me. I'm going to save you. But here's the other side of it. Make it count.
Exactly.
Make it worth something.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole thing is and part of that is, I think, a man's pride with Pa Kent. Like, I don't want to live in a world where my son has to save me and protect me.
Well, and doesn't that scene come at the end of an argument between the two of them where Clark is saying, like, you're not my father, not really?
Yep. Yeah. And he was like, I'll show you that I'm your father.
Yeah, I'll show you who your daddy is.
Yeah. And he did. I mean, but that's the whole thing, is he did the same thing Jor-El did.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, I didn't mean to make this about a Father's Day or Father's Day or Mother's Day, but um, but that's the thing is like in seeing how men react to him. That's what BVS is all about. Lex Luthor can't stand someone that's stronger than him, and because he's stronger than in pretty much everybody else. He even because by that point he knew he'd even bested the Batman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he'd gotten him to a point even before kind of the appearance of Superman where he kind of knew I can beat the Batman mentally, and
Right.
it's also what destroys Batman is these guys that saw power they didn't have, and so that's not a conflict that Clark has, but
Exactly.
yeah, but at the same time, those are the men that Pa Kent was preparing him to face. Because he's like,
Right.
men that are weaker than you in every way will find a way to be stronger than you. And you need to be stronger than that. And the only way to do that is to basically have the wisdom to be like, maybe Martha dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is he's the message is not have no feelings.
Yeah, it's not let people die, but
Yeah, he's not saying don't feel, don't have emotions. He's saying don't allow your emotions to manipulate you
yeah.
because then other people can direct you where they want you to go and you're too powerful to let them do that.
And we see that happen with Bruce Wayne. That's the whole thing with Batman is you see, and I mean, my gosh, that's the God, it's so brilliant. The Snyderverse really is brilliant because what's the message? What's the big final message that they send Bruce that breaks him? It's you let your family die,
Yeah.
and he can't reconcile that. But that's the message that Pa Kent was trying to tell Clark. That even if that were to happen, you still stand through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pa Kent.
Yeah, if the worst scenario plays out, you can't give up.
You don't compromise.
Yeah, you don't compromise.
Oh, and
That's what we call integrity.
integrity. But
Integrity.
that's also Pa Kent being the ultimate father by being like, I'll make this choice for you. Because me and your mom are going to die. And I'd rather it be at a time when I'd rather kind of like when at a time before, like before I think you can handle it, but you have time to prepare for it. Because he couldn't have handled it at the time, and he didn't handle it correctly. But anyway, yeah, I don't know, man. I think I think the greatest misunderstanding. I think the greatest thread running through Snyder's Superman is he needs to learn that. He needs to learn that the people you love are going to die. And sometimes it's your fault, sometimes it isn't, but you need to be prepared for it. And regardless of how it happens, you can't lose control because you're too powerful. Yeah. Which again, that's all of Batman's arc in Batman v Superman. This is a man who held that back the best way he could for so long, and it's finally broken through. And you even see Clark reacting to it. He's like, he's going crazy. He's hurting people, and it's like Clark's like, well, imagine if he had your power.
We'll see, and then the Snyder cut of Justice League is really a big portion of that is Batman trying to make it right after everything he ruined.
Well, my gosh, that's what I don't get. What people are so mad. Like, he made the most emotional Bruce Wayne we've ever seen. And he also made the only one that admitted that his logic and reason were broken. And that, and it all, because I remember when that movie first came out, people were like, "Oh, Snyder hates Superman." They still say like, he doesn't get it. He's like, that whole trilogy is about how Superman is the only thing that keeps this all together and the only beacon of hope. Out of everything that fixes everybody, brings everybody together, and does everything. And I don't know. I don't think that I don't think you could ever say that he didn't understand or didn't like Superman.
No. Absolutely.
I think James Gunn is probably going to crap the bed with Superman.
I hope he doesn't. But
I think he'll give us the whiny, or not the whiny, but the cheesy, but not cheesy Twitter Superman that everybody wants. The
not
one, yeah,
everybody.
yeah, but I think that's what he's gonna give us. The one that rescues cats and smiles, and that's great. Henry Cavill's got a great smile because he actually smiled in the Snyderverse. If you were watching,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, but I don't know, man. We should probably do that. We should probably do maybe on Father's Day an entire thing on the fathers of Snyderverse because that's what. And Alfred even
Mm-hmm.
tries to rein him in, and that's the whole thing. Is you see Alfred kind of getting a mother role in Justice League where he's like, your guilt has become your reasoning, and like this,
Mm-hmm.
and he's trying to warn him. He's trying to warn him, like maybe you shouldn't wave the red flag at the bull. Maybe you shouldn't do all. He's scared for him. He's scared for the world, and Batman's like, I'll do it. I'll do anything. I don't care. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Well, and you also have Cyborg's father as an interesting figure in that
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. I. Yeah. His father twice over.
And even the unseen father for Lex too.
Yeah. And you see that's his whole motivating factor because he,
Mm-hmm.
he says it is, and you see it all, and like that's the whole thing is like I don't. I think maybe a reason people, if I had to guess, a lot of people don't like Snyderverse because they don't like fathers.
Mm.
But yeah, Happy Mother's Day. we're like was it Denmark or Finland? We're putting the statue up on, on Women's Day or whatever.
We shall raise up an abomination.
Anyway, I don't mind cutting this one short. But
Now that works. That
yeah,
works. But yeah,
anything you want to add about Snyder's Superman?
man, he's the only person that I've ever seen, and there's been a lot of live action Superman, and like I love Christopher Reeves as Superman, those original two at least, especially. And there's a lot about those that are really good. Snyder is the first person that I think captured the awe and majesty of Superman and the way that the world would respond to Superman
Yeah,
in a realistic way. And I love the visuals of those movies. The Man of Steel looks better every time I see it.
yeah, it's
Like it looks
crazy.
better than movies. It looks so much. The fight scenes in that movie look so much better than movies that are coming out today.
Yeah, I really think I talked about this a lot. I think he just or whoever he worked with knew lighting really well. They knew how to
Mm-hmm.
hide CGI in the lighting, and then when the Kryptonians when they move quick, just let them be blurs. Like just
Mm-hmm. It's so good.
yeah,
It's so good. Batman v like, I mean, I could gush about that stuff and have gushed about it for hours on end. No, I hold out hope, man. I hold out hope that one day we'll get to see a completed vision of that stuff.
yeah. I think it's the single best on-screen Superman.
Yeah,
I
by
love the
far.
one from
And
Justice.
Batman, the best
Yeah,
Batman as well.
the single best Batman. Um, I don't know. I don't think you'll ever get a better live action depiction of any of those characters. I mean, Ray Fisher killed it as Cyborg. Um, Jason
Gal.
Gal Gadot. You'll never find anyone at like a 10 out of 10 to play Wonder Woman like her, at least physically. Yeah, I didn't mind what's his name as the Flash. Yeah,
What's their name?
dude should be in prison, but but he did a good Flash. Even old Amber Heard was good as what's her name, Mira. Like
Ugh.
despite her craziness, he did a really good
Yeah,
job with her. I'm not gonna go off
yeah,
topic, but
her performance in that and within Justice League, her performance is fine.
well,
She was not very good in Aquaman.
if you wanna get on the 1990s feminist fan train, the only two people that fought him to a stalemate and almost killed Steppenwolf were Wonder Woman, who fought him to a stalemate, and Mira almost killed him.
Yeah,
Like the two women were the only ones that almost single handedly beat him.
that's true. That's fair.
I thought that was great. Was when she started blood bending him to death, and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is bad. She can end him right here." he didn't calculate that one.
Nope, he didn't take that one into account.
But yeah, we'll cut this one short, guys. But yeah, the I would love to talk with anyone or debate anyone on Zack Snyder's Superman. I
Yeah,
don't
it's great
know.
stuff.
I don't know how you could find any major faults with it worth noting. But anyway, if you have any thoughts or comments, put them below. And again, Josh has literally quit his day job to finish this novel, this graphic novel, and work on other stuff. So it's coming out quick and it's coming out soon, and we are going full head first into physical ideas and stuff. Like, we want to make art for you guys, not just generic whining about indie comic stuff on Twitter. Like, we want to give you art that you will pass down to your kids.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on that, Josh?
it's exciting.
Not to put the
Just
spotlight on you, man, but
no. I'm the most excited and most terrified I've been in a in a long time. But no, it's exciting to be able to really devote myself to things I really love, and to finish this book up and get it out there as soon as possible and as well as possible is exciting. It's all about to start opening up.
yeah. So anyway, we got a lot more coming for you guys. But if you haven't subscribed, like all that kind of stuff, and we'll catch you next time.